Karen HOA's voice could curdle milk, and her smirk screamed she'd already won. She stood in my driveway, waving a clipboard like a scepter, ready to seize my cars over a $12 HOA fine. The audacity was almost laughable, but the stakes were real. Karen, the self-appointed queen of Sunny Hills Homeowners Association, had terrorized our neighborhood for years. Her latest crusade: my two vehicles, a beat-up sedan I used for errands and a vintage pickup I'd been restoring in my garage. She claimed they violated some obscure HOA rule about unsightly vehicles, despite both being parked legally on my property. Today, she'd escalated her vendetta, hiring a towing company to repossess them. What she didn't know was that I, Marcus Reed, owned Reed's Towing, the very company she'd just called. It started 3 months ago when Karen moved into the cul-de-sac. At 300 pounds, she waddled around in garish designer tracksuits, her nose perpetually tilted upward as if the rest of us were beneath her. She'd fine people for overgrown grass, improper mailbox colors, or kids' bikes left on lawns. Her favorite target was me, a single dad and small business owner who didn't bow to her petty tyranny. I'd paid every HOA fee on time, but Karen didn't care about facts. She thrived on control, and my refusal to grovel made me her obsession. Last week, she'd slapped me with a $12 fine for unauthorized vehicle storage. My sedan had a dent from a grocery store fender bender, and my pickup's primer coat wasn't aesthetically pleasing. I laughed it off, assuming she'd move on to her next victim. Big mistake. Karen didn't just want compliance, she wanted to humiliate me. When I ignored her fine, she sent a certified letter threatening to tow my vehicles. I figured it was a bluff until I got a call from my own dispatcher, Jenny, at Reed's Towing. Boss, some lady named Karen HOA just hired us to repo 2 vehicles at your address, Jenny said, her voice dripping with amusement. She's demanding we send a truck ASAP. What do you want me to do? I nearly choked on my coffee. Send me, I said, grinning. I'll handle this myself. By the time I pulled up in my tow truck, Karen was in full dictator mode. She stood in my driveway, clipboard in hand, barking orders at her lackey, Tim, a nervous HOA board member who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. My neighbor, Carlos, a grizzled mechanic who'd had his own run-ins with Karen, watched from his porch, a wrench in his hand like he was ready to throw it. The air crackled with tension, the kind that comes when a bully's about to get their comeuppance. Marcus Reed, Karen bellowed as I stepped out of the truck, my work boots crunching on the gravel. Your vehicles are a disgrace to this community, and I'm having them towed today. You should have paid that fine when you had the chance. I leaned against the truck, crossing my arms. Is that so? Karen, you sure you called the right company? Her eyes narrowed, but her smirk didn't waver. I hired the best towing service in town, Reed's Towing. They'll have your junkers out of here in 10 minutes. Carlos snorted from his porch, and even Tim looked uneasy, shifting his weight like a kid caught in a lie. I let the moment hang, savoring the irony. Funny thing, Karen, I said, my voice calm but sharp. I am Reed's Towing. Been running it for 15 years. So, you're saying you hired me to tow my own cars? The color drained from her face, but she recovered quickly, puffing out her chest. Doesn't matter who you are. The HOA has the authority to enforce its rules. Your vehicles are an eyesore, and I'm within my rights to have them removed. I glanced at Carlos, who was now grinning ear to ear. Tim clutched his phone, probably wondering if he could record this without Karen noticing. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Karen, you might want to check the HOA bylaws. Page 47. Section 3. Private property can't be towed without a court order. You got one of those. Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. Two don't need a court order. The HOA board approved this. Tim cleared his throat, his voice barely a whisper. Karen, we didn't actually vote on that. You said you'd handle it. The betrayal hit her like a slap. Her eyes bulged, and she spun on Tim, jabbing a finger at him. You useless idiot. You're supposed to back me up. Tim flinched, and Carlos let out a loud guffaw, which only fueled Karen's rage. Laugh all you want. Marcus, she snarled, turning back to me. I'll have your cars towed by someone else. Then, you're not above the rules. I shrugged, unfazed. Go ahead. Call another company. But you'll be wasting their time and yours. No tow company in this county will touch a job without proper documentation. And you've got none. Plus, I've already got a reputation for handling HOA disputes. Word gets around. Karen. Her face turned a shade of red I'd only seen on overripe tomatoes. She clutched her clipboard so tightly I thought it might snap. This isn't over. She spat, storming toward her SUV. I'll sue you. I'll ruin you. Good luck with that. I called after her. My lawyer's on speed dial, and she loves a challenge. As Karen peeled out of my driveway, tires screeching, Carlos walked over, still chuckling. Man, I wish I'd recorded that. The look on her face when you said you own the company. Priceless. Tim lingered, looking like he wanted to apologize but didn't know how. I didn't know she was going this far. He mumbled. She said it was all legal. Tim, I said, not unkindly. You might want to rethink who you're following. Karen's not worth the headache. He nodded, scurrying off to his car. The neighborhood felt quieter, but the victory was bittersweet. Karen wasn't the type to let this go. She'd come back, probably with a new scheme to make my life hell. But for now, I'd won, and it felt good. The next week, Karen tried to rally the HOA board to pass a new rule targeting commercial vehicles like my tow truck. She didn't know I'd already been talking to the other board members, most of whom were sick of her power trips. At the meeting, Carlos showed up with a petition signed by half the neighborhood, demanding Karen's removal as HOA president. Tim, to his credit, flipped sides and voted against her. The board stripped her of her title, and she was left fuming but powerless. But the real kicker came Biden come until a month later. Karen, desperate to save face, tried to file a lawsuit against me for defamation and emotional distress. She didn't realize my lawyer was a shark who'd handled dozens of frivolous HOA suits. We countersued for harassment and legal fees, citing her abuse of power and lack of legal grounds for the tow attempt. The judge threw out her case and ordered her to pay my legal costs $4,000, which stung her more than any fine ever could. Word spread fast. Neighbors started calling her Repo Karen behind her back, and her influence in Sunny Hills evaporated. She moved away 6 months later, her tail between her legs, unable to handle the whispers and side-eyes. My cars stayed right where they were, and I even finished restoring the pickup, painting it a bright red that I knew would have made Karen's blood boil. The neighborhood threw a block party to celebrate her departure. Carlos brought his famous ribs, and we toasted to freedom from petty tyrants. I looked at my sedan and pickup, parked proudly in my driveway, and felt a weight lift. Sometimes, justice doesn't just knock it backs up a tow truck and hauls the problem away.